So he sauntered up the stairs, and
You know
I
where
got up,
Jeff
it was
is?
gone.
Wow.
But it was white or gray
Yes.
breasted,
Back this way up
and
on
it
the
didn't,
hill.
it wasn't all
Oh,
black,
okay.
it was more grayish.
Pretty
So it wasn't a vulture.
You know, the walk.
Really?
We're on
Wait,
the
been
track.
like that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, had it not,
Had it not been
That's right, all kinds of
Thanksgiving, if it had been Thanksgiving,
Tell you,
it
I
was
make
like
it
a
to
turkey.
turkey.
I mean, it was
Does he
kind of
project
big. It was startling.
Take
Yeah,
out time.
yeah, the deer,
Wow. When the deer, when they started falling, the deer hang out on the road.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming.
I'm glad we got some of the older people here.
I did not to him.
Like my mother
I
said.
knew it.
they had under the
We uncles.
How many antique?
Hi, how are you doing?
I have 31 Ford and 52 Jeep.
Oh, is that all?
Tell me when you just tell me when you want to begin.
I'm kinda just waiting for the chatter to.
Oh, okay, all
That's
right.
okay. You can talk. I guess that's really what it's all about, and I thank you all for coming. This is our second, program of Churchville Living History. I have no agenda. I have no outline of how this should proceed. I just think that we should talk and share. Some of you have brought photos. I think you might want to hold up your photos and tell us what you know about it. And if somebody else knows something about it, they can chime in. Maybe tell you something you didn't know about it.
Chairs in here. Chairs in here.
And Arlen Hanger has his scanner. Now, there may be some pictures. We have in the back of our minds that we might get 10 or a dozen pictures assembled over time to make a little display in the library. So there may be some pictures that some of you have with you tonight that that Mr. Hanger can scan. We'll save them to the disk, and then after, depending on how many we get tonight, maybe we'll have another meeting. There's another living history meeting scheduled for October 28th. That's a Monday at 6:30, just like today. But that's really all I have planned so far. So I think we can share pictures, we can share stories. If it's a good picture of somewhat general interest, we might see if Arlen can scan it for our future local history display. And I don't know, Arlen, do you want to say a word about what you can or can't do
Well,
tonight?
I think the main thing, if anyone has photos, we need some caption, we need some definition of who provided it and what is it?
What it is.
Because we intend to put a caption on the photo that if and when it's framed, it will read Churchville Hardware circa some, okay? And maybe even the original in care of whoever's
Whoever
submitting it.
supplied it. All right, well, this is all kind of new. It's new for me. I think what we're doing tonight is new for Arlen, though he's had some experience in copying photographs and documents and stuff. So he was kind enough to volunteer to bring in his machine. So I don't know if somebody wants to kick it off, you can, or, let's see, what did I do with my notes? Oh, here they are. I started, I made these for last time, a bunch of questions to ask people to get them talking. But let's look at some photos first. I know Kitty brought some. You want to show your first photo, or Harold, you want to show it? Say what you got, and then if somebody wants to chime in, chime in.
The office of the Churchville Roofing Club, I did not really. The exact date's on the back of it.
No, the date's not on there.
Somewhere in the 50s.
Do you know the people in it, Harold?
Yeah. Fred Ritchie, anybody remember Fred Ritchie?
Sure.
You do.
Only song, man.
Jake Leitner, Whitfield Sellers, you know them, Yule Young,
Yeah.
and me. You know all of them.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be used tonight. And then this is your.
Oh, we ought to just banish that word from this room.
Right.
It's a dirty word. Churchville prided itself in having a good independent basketball team back in the 40s and 50s, 60s. I don't believe anybody remember. Bob, you don't remember any of
No,
that.
that's for me.
Yeah, it would be.
Only some local, the two Collins boys, Raleigh and Howard, both over here, they're on it, and Woody Ashby, who owns the big market here. And myself and 3 or 4 young snappers on the team.
Harold, is Pete Lunsford on there?
Pete played with us, a couple winners. He's not on here.
Was Dick Collins one of the players, or was he
Late-
too young?
Yeah, he was still in high school. Way in high school, yeah.
Jack Mason.
Yeah, Jack Mason, yeah. It was Jack number 57.
Oh, there's a smaller picture of the same thing that he's over there at Hinton Copy, which is not in a frame, so it's no problem.
My brother owned a restaurant up here, where, what do you call it now?
It's still a T-bone.
T-Bone Tour back again.
It's still.
Yeah. He owned that restaurant from 1932 till 56 or 60 or something. He got the name out in Wisconsin. He and Ray Gum went on a vacation to Wisconsin. Episode, it's a word. Celebration, like a fair. And then somebody out there had that name on a restaurant. He brought it back here and named it T-Bone Tudor.
All the way from Wisconsin.
You remember when the Ruritans and the March of Dimes got together and they said if they gathered a certain amount of money, they would ride toad to Stanton in the wheelbarrow?
Pushed my brother from here to Stanton and Wheelbar.
And he was not a little skinny guy.
He weighed 250 pounds.
And March of Dimes was a big thing then because of polio, and polio was something that every family feared terribly. And so March of Diamonds was very big. Collected a lot of money.
This is just, I'm sure there are pictures.
Most of you have a picture of the old high school over here, it's torn down. Not all of them.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
I came in 2000.
Say this one for $50. It costs $3.
I know Harold and a couple of these,
Who do not remember a high school being over here?
Where was the high school? Where was it?
Right,
Where the sign is.
right out there in the yard, is the place.
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot in the yard, right out front here.
All right,
Oh,
there's
the
some
library
scrap
parking
paper
lot?
we can.
Who's this Woody
Well,
Ashby?
I wasn't here.
Well, yeah.
That's probably the biggest he ever was.
Yeah.
Well, there was an elementary school, and this was the
Harold, you and Bill were probably the seniors here, and that
volunteer.
was pictures Don Howard sent to me. He wanted to know who these people were, and they're waiting for Harold.
There they are, back and forth.
That's right, 'cause she volunteered with us, yeah.
I think they lost their game or something. They lost their first year after the war.
Really?
They didn't have New England this one, I can tell
Second graders.
Oh, hey, I can't recognize it.
Agent Bill, do you recognize anybody
That's
there?
you, you know.
The Shoemake brothers are there, but I don't see anybody else in there.
And, oh, Jay.
All right, folks, I like seeing you pass the pictures around, but if you see something interesting, share it with everybody.
When you get up, see, only she remember there was Marshall.
Yeah, I saw something interesting.
All right, Dave, what do you got?
Well, that's what happens when you get old.
Yeah, I know. It's happening.
Fred Ritchie's missing the pipe in his mouth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we-
We'll take a picture of the pipe.
yeah.
You didn't see Fred Ray Alford like that.
You know, I don't know that I ever saw him say
No, he
that.
didn't.
And slow talking,
Yeah,
and slow
The
moving.
dress back then was much.
talk with his pipe in the mouth too.
Well, when he was trying to deliver the mail and get the mail up. Whatever. But he was a good old fella. I really liked him a lot.
Oh, this is the one.
Ran out of picture.
I don't think you'd be interested in just some score books back in that time of basketball and baseball.
1970, 1972 for the baseball.
Gosh, I don't know.
No, not 70.
I get a kick out of looking at the basketball shorts. They're short. They're not down below their knees and bag big enough to make a tent out of.
Style back.
Well, and as far as I'm old enough, I consider that the right style.
Baby's doing that.
Oh, but this is, okay, this is the first one, the 17 acre.
Bob, Don Hauser sent you a copy of that with the Boy Scouts, I'm sure, didn't
Yes.
he? Okay.
Hold it up. Hold it up, Mr.
He's
Ashby.
younger than you all are.
I'll say.
Ms. Armstrong, turn that around. Just briefly. Thank you. Let's get a close-up on that. There. Okay. Thank you.
Joe Armstrong, here's Joe Armstrong, wait. Is that you? You know where she has lived? Here's Bobby Campbell down here.
Bob, you made the picture.
Phyllis and Bobby. Albert and Alfred.
Well, that there's their pictures going
He
in.
was the first.
Even though Frank Goodman wouldn't let me be an Eagle Scout.
Married
Good
my
failures.
sister Lottie.
He wouldn't let any of us be an Eagle
They
Scout
were
except Bill
identical
Hawkins.
twins, and they were both ministers.
There, it's on that picture there.
Albert was
And you know Bill was sick.
the Lutheran
Yeah,
church.
yeah.
You remember that? I mean,
Yeah,
Bill
oh,
was,
What family?
Okay, so that's the Shoemake family.
well, they burned him up
Radiation.
with radiation, burned all his insides out. And, you know, but so they let Bill have it and that's okay. We all played enough tricks on Frank Goodman, probably didn't deserve a shot.
No.
I'm not sure about what's happening here.
Do you remember when there was a women's club here?
He's still living.
Churchville Women's Club.
Sure.
They ruled the rules. They told everybody what to do and not to do.
Somebody had to,
Were you in it?
for a short time, yeah, right
Okay.
toward the end of it.
All right. I understand that Mrs. Young, Mrs. Charlotte Young, was the last president. Is that right? Does that fit with your memory?
That
Probably right.
sounds right, yeah.
Yeah. We probably should have had her here tonight.
Yeah.
Bob's mother was in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, all our mothers went, I mean, everybody went.
Yeah, almost, it was a heck of a.
I was in briefly.
Well, you-
I was the youngest.
Yeah.
I bet you were.
When did that disintegrate?
Disintegrate.
Disband.
Probably about 76 or thereabouts, because I think we did a float for the parade. And it was all the,
Sorry, I'm on call, so.
Sheriff.
all the little kids in
Sheriff.
Churchville, all the young ones, and they were all dressed up in firemen and doctors and whatever, and the sign was Churchville's bicentennial gift to the future leaders of America, or something like that.
Two highlights of that club, one of them, they wanted, a stream run through here, it's Whiskey Creek. They didn't like that name, they named it, went to Richmond and changed it to
Castles Creek, wasn't it?
Castle Creek. Castle Creek. But that didn't cut the mustard too long. The landowners didn't like their place to be, not joining yours on Whiskey Creek instead of Castle Creek. And then my brother had the restaurant. Did I tell you that?
Did he serve beer, liquor, or what?
Yeah, he served beer. And they got his license taken away from him for a little while. And he had to go to Richmond twice for the Commission of Revenue or something. Finally got him back.
Do you happen to have a picture of Town Hall?
I used to, I can't find it anymore, Jim. Yeah, right at the end of the Methodist church up here, used to be a town hall, two-story building. The Lodge fellows, Lodge, is that what you call them?
Was Oddfellows?
Oddfellows Lodge. Used to take care of the upstairs and meet up there regularly. A lot of people out here belong to it. Downstairs was an auditorium with a stage in it. It had Negro minstrels and whatever in that. And when the Methodist church expanded a few years ago, several years ago, it went that way and tore it down.
I didn't see it all, I didn't know it at all.
That was gone.
Oh, that was back in
Do you know what
the
year?
40s.
30s and 40s.
Oh, yeah, going down here to 49.
What year this picture?
It came down in 47?
And the windows, when I was in school,
Jim shot them all out coming down the street.
the windows were all knocked out of it, and I kept wanting to go there and go explore, but my mother kept telling me I couldn't do it. And I didn't want to go up the church and destroyed it.
Jim, I've asked several people, there was a character that used to live up on Van Leer Hill back in the 40s. And I just have a vague memory of it as a young child. There was a guy who lived up there that everybody in the village called Wild Bill.
Yeah.
And he'd ride a horse, he'd get drunk, and he'd come down in the village and ride up the middle of 250 on his horse, yelling, "I'm a wild boar hog and I root where I please."
Now that's a good story.
Who was that?
It was a guy that everybody called Wild Bill. I don't know, he wasn't here very long, but I just have this memory as a child of him coming up past the meat locker and yelling, "I'm a wild boar hog and I root where I please," riding that horse. He lives on Van Leer Hill.
Actually, he was here several years.
Where's that, Stuart? We're out on the hill here, where they tore down the house for the school.
Get up there, Joe.
Over that way. All right.
We got room for everybody in there.
There's room up here. Tom, I thought you were gonna say Bill Ryan.
No,
You don't remember?
I don't remember Bill Ryan. You have to
He was a shoemaker, and he
Yeah.
had a shop right behind the restaurant up here.
No, it's down there behind where the community center is.
That was after he left up here.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, well, when the community center, before it was taken over, it used to just be nobody doing it. Bill moved down there. But my brother let him live in the building back to the restaurant for years and years and years. You probably don't remember until he was down there.
And one Halloween, did they put something on top of the restaurant?
But, well, done that since that. Halloween used to be wild around here.
It sure did. Everybody got their windows soaked.
Your daddy was one of the worst ones.
He told me a story one time about he and some other boys had gotten somebody's farm wagon. They were gonna roll it off somewhere and do something with it, and ran over his foot and broke his toe. And his toe was hurting him terribly, and his father, Turner, was a justice of the peace at the time. And when he got home, the fellow that owned the wagon was there filing a complaint with the JV. And he had to straighten up and walk even though his toe was hurting. He walked in the house without limping.
Halloween used to be wild around here. I mean, the buildings got tore up, literally tore up. You remember some, Jim? Your mom lost her gate over. your dad-
Well, they would go by the white picket fence with a crayon,
Yeah.
right? And you imagine what a crayon does to a white picket fence on Halloween? And of course, I got to paint it the next summer.
That was to keep you busy.
Bob's home was down here where, who owns it?
I don't know who owns it now.
Raymond, no, so on the other side where Raymond Crosby lived.
Blackwell owned it until
The White
2 years
House.
ago.
On the other side of where Raymond lived in the brick house, which,
Fourth house on the right as you come in.
yeah.
It's got a white fence.
Mm-hmm.
If you're coming from Stanton, it's a white house.
I recall somebody putting a Model T Ford on top of the high school one time. You remember that?
Oh my goodness.
I don't know how they got it up there to this day. It was before my time, before I was.
Whatever got me, they put 6 or 8 tires over the flagpole.
Yeah.
They run them up there and then drop them. Well, Joe Tolliver probably did some of that.
Would this all be Halloween
Yeah.
tricks, Harold?
Halloween tree. Halloween was a
Is this
celebrated
There's a-
day around here.
Remember the church, St. James, John Paul.
Little bit on the wild
On
side,
the
huh?
wild side.
Now they get arrested, I guess.
Makes you wonder why, maybe that was just innocent hell raising.
Does anybody else have any photographs they want to share?
I'll get that picture of the hardware store.
All right, that'd be good.
Did print?
I'll remove it.
Well, it's all going into here. Yeah, or in my room. You can see it on the back. See, I'm taking a bunch of pictures, I'm gonna sell them.
It came out
You're
of
gonna sell them?
You didn't get much for Arlen.
went down
That's
this.
nice picture.
Hey, Father, Father, if you're gonna say something, you really need to speak up. It's gonna, yeah, but I can't. I can't.
Hole in the stage,
Yeah.
and then the door back, it went in under there. And we, some of us boys fooling around and went in there and got through that trap door, went on up in that belfry. And the Sam Gardner came by there, ran us out. Didn't do anything to us, but
You do tear up his building.
we weren't doing anything to it. We just wanted to crawl up there.
Just all innocent.
Bill, do you know the real name of the guy that Zip Hollow was named for? He lived in that little shack up in Zip Hollow.
Was named.
And the story that my Uncle Marshall told me one time was that he was the illegitimate son of one of the Urets that owned the lower end of the hollow. And he was a result of a union between Mr. Ewart and a black lady that worked for him. And he built that little house up there for his illegitimate son, and he lived there for a long time. And the story that Marshall told me was that he was real slow acting and slow talking, slow walking, so naturally everybody
Zip
called him-
holler.
Yeah, everybody called him Zip because and that he lived there for a number of years. I don't know whatever happened to him, but he lived there long enough that there's recorded a 6-foot walking easement from Zip Hollow across Jennings Branch to the village. I never heard of a walking easement before.
Yeah, on the footbridge.
But Marshall told me what his real name was, and I've forgotten.
I've heard it.
Is that story fairly accurate from what you
I don't remember the story of he told me.
remember? Yeah, I'd like to be able to verify it some way.
Not just for sure.
Where was the bridge?
Pardon?
Where
What was the bridge?
Wasn't
I
there a
believe
bridge,
that there was one.
a footbridge, remember that?
Yeah.
It forded the creek,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, right behind, where the, park is, go turn in right beside the store and Fisher Parks now. Going across, that was the main road where this bridge is up here. That was the main road. It was through there. You had to go through the river, not over.
If you, what's now Scenic Highway,
Yeah.
Route 42,
That was-
there was not, before when there was a bridge, it was just a ford.
Yeah.
And Hotchkiss Road didn't go right there, it started over, what, at Fisher Auto Parts?
Yeah.
And came up there toward,
Where the
where
cheese
Hal
factory-
Bear's house was.
Where the cheese place was.
Yeah, where the cheese place is now,
Uh-huh.
and then went up.
That's right.
Went around the mill, this old mill,
Used to be an old mill, a
Yeah.
fire mill over there.
right up to that porch. Cheese shop.
Are you old enough to remember when the mill pond was still there, across the road from the mill?
Oh,
No,
no.
Not much more than it is now.
Yeah.
You talking about the source of the Lock Willow, the
Lock Willow,
name?
No, the one I'm talking about is over here, across, or behind the Methodist church.
Oh, that's Lock.
In that, in that bottom land across
Across
from the
from
cheese shop.
Mongols.
that's where our church
That,
got
that
the
is
name
Lock
from.
Willow, that's Lock Willow, that's Club.
Yeah.
I
Yeah, that was.
I think it was a joke, right? It was sort of a nickname, but it was sort of a joke, right?
No, it's
Go.
larger.
It was a large pond.
And you know, when Jed Hoskins owns all that
Jed
information
Hoskins
now.
owned all that hill up there.
Well, he. no,
That's
he
where
owned it.
Hotchkiss Academy was.
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Lock Willow.
Or Lock Willow Academy,
Yeah.
I mean. But
And-
Jed Hotchkiss
Yeah.
was the
He was a
headmaster.
teacher. Headmaster.
He and his brother.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. And they came from, they'd been at Mossy Creek, and then they had gone to Dribbling Spring, and then came to Lock Willow.
Is this after the Civil War?
Before.
And Lock Willow was, he was in debt pretty badly at Lock Willow, and the Civil War kind of took care of that, so didn't have to worry anymore.
The Civil War took all the boys, and so there was no more school.
Right, exactly. I have some, my grandmother's cousins went there, and I have a letter that they wrote, to, one of them said, it looks like we might be gonna have a war pretty soon. And so I wanted my great-grandfather to send him money for his tuition. And then the next letter said, it doesn't look like there's gonna be a war. That was later. It doesn't look like there'll be a war, so just let it go. And it was, but my great-grandfather was the guardian of his brother's children. His brother, so that's why. But I have the, Allie Brown stories over here. Any of you that read the women's, club, we studied, we did. Studied that. Before you came to, but I have copies of the letters that she wrote.
Okay. Does anybody else have pictures?
One more. Bill here is reminiscing. He probably don't want-
You don't have a sign
No, I tried to, well, it was what it was back when we were there. Hughes' store.
Yeah.
Churchville used to have 3 grocery stores. That's how good the grocery business was. Plus 2 or 3 little places like Cecil Jackson's service station over there and Horn store up where the hospital has now. Owen Horn had, you remember Bob? Yeah. And then there were 3 grocery stores in the village, and 2 brick buildings on the corners up here are still here. And this was, well, I owned for a few years. I started the hardware business in '54 over on the corner where some kind of antique building is now, or shop is now.
Oh, that's right.
Then I had a chance, the Hughes went out of business, well, there were 3 girls that lived on a house right beside the restaurant, on this side of the restaurant up here. I bought this building then, and I moved over there in 56 or 55, I started in 54, over on the corner. Then, when Lowe's moved to town in '62, they made business so tough that I couldn't make any money.
Well, didn't you do business at one time where Bear and Eagle used to be?
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Okay.
Huge store.
All right,
Huge
I
before
see.
your time. You remember
Yeah.
Bear and Eagle? They had a grocery store there.
See, Harold's probably the guy that scraped the bear, right? You remember that?
Had-
Used to have a bear
had an
and
eagle.
bear over it, and a picture of a big eagle, an eagle over it. You know, Bear and Eagle store?
Milt Eagle, and
Robert Bear.
Robert Bear.
Yeah, Robert Bobby Bear.
Mr. Bear was a World War I vet,
That's right.
and he had a scar on his cheek, a round scar. I remember as a little kid being there one day and asking him if he got shot in the war there. And he said, yeah.
Mr. Eagle was over vet too. He was from Holland. He was in World War.
Was he in also World War I? Yeah.
Joe Tolliver was my first employee. No, Jim. Joe's too young. Jim worked for me on busy seasons such as hunting season. He wrote up about 9,000 hunting licenses. Hunting season. Busy one.
Harold, that building over on the corner was a wooden structure,
That's right, belonged to the Ashby's.
And-
Woody's daddy.
and it burned. And then he replaced it with.
Burned a Saturday night after everybody got finished loafing. You remember the deal? Yeah. I remember going to church the next morning, there's just a pile of ashes there. Still smoking.
That was what, 1929?
That's, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, 29, 30, yeah.
Oh, that's when it burned, but.
And then they built a brick building to replace it.
There's one on the corner there.
Did Turner own that building?
Yeah,
I think so.
yeah.
Did Turner rebuild, is he the one that rebuilt it?
I don't know.
I think so, I'm not really sure. I think they all lived, the Ashby's all lived upstairs in the furnaces.
They were living there when that place burned.
Yeah,
Then after that, I don't know if they
I don't know if
lived.
they lived there or not.
I think he moved down to the farm that Annie Wilson owned when I was a kid. I think he moved down there, or he may have lived there at the same time, I don't know. But I know at one point they owned that farm that Bill Mongo owned recently. Annie Wilson's place.
When are they in West Augusta?
Miss Annie lived.
Did they go to West Augusta one time? But Mary Jo said she was born in West Augusta.
Yeah, that's Pop owned that place out there where Deerfield Farms is. It's a flat field there. There used to be a frame house right there by the road.
Lyles lived in that.
Yeah, and I got a picture somewhere of Pop and his brothers and sisters and their spouses in front of the old frame.
Yeah, I remember Marshall talking about making hands there.
Yeah.
Tom, Annie Wilson's place was where the Sirens lived.
Yeah.
And I remember, was it, my mom
Which-
talked about Squire Wilson?
Squirrel. Had a place over here on,
I'm probably confused. Ms. Wilson was Frank Wilson's mother.
Vella Olivia.
Olivia?
I think it was Vella Olivia Wilson.
She was honest, she wouldn't let anybody fish in the river on the farm.
That wasn't what I thought.
Bob down here.
Yeah,
That's-
yeah, she wouldn't let, and she'd come out of the house and she'd ask mother, said, would he come down there and help me make hay? And I said, she won't let me fish, and I won't make hay either. But she let Tommy fish.
Hey, well,
Now,
maybe 33 cents an hour.
refresh my memory, I was thinking I'd heard when the store burned in '29, there was, everybody, or a lot of people had stuff on credit.
Most everybody did.
Most everybody did, and only one person came and paid up.
I never did hear that. Credit was,
Of course, that was right at the beginning of the Depression.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nobody had any money.
right.
Dad said Glenn Weimer came and
said, Turner, I don't know how much I owe you, but I know it's about this amount.
I never heard that, yeah, that's new,
Glenn Wyman.
good. Glenn was an honest fellow, I thought.
Do y'all remember anybody from Churchville that grew up to be famous or infamous just as well?
Joe Tall,
No, the infamous is a little easier.
Well, yeah.
But he
Joe
wasn't,
Tall.
he was born in New York.
The hanger.
Yeah, but he,
Hanger,
And the hanger fella.
Hanger,
Yeah.
That's right.
artificial leg.
Yeah, he was born.
Artificial.
Yeah. And there's still hanger
That's
stores
right.
all over the world, maybe, I don't know,
I
all
think they
over the
went on
country.
Roanoke maybe, and then.
Well, I grew up in Ohio and there was a hanger prosthetic store there.
Well, it started right here.
Yeah, I
Well,
know.
that's probably the most famous person.
Yeah, I guess it would be. Maybe it is. From Churchville.
Bill Ryan. He was a shoemaker.
How about any extreme weather events? Do you remember any big blizzards or times when the branch flooded the whole town or anything like that?
Flood of 49 was the first one I remember that it was a really bad flood.
Yeah, did it come up to the highway to 250?
It was
Came
up
across,
Crossroad where?
right out there, this side of Miss Foster's house.
Yeah.
You probably couldn't get down here.
No, 250 was covered in front of my home place.
He's not from Churchville.
And
He's from Lone Town.
I hardly ever got to Churchville. Sunday school,
If you went to town, you went to Churchville, huh?
yeah. Saturday night was a big deal. My mom and dad and a lot of other parents would come down to Pete Blair's store, one where the antique on the other side along the, that was a loafing grocery store. It had benches in there and a big coal wood stove for the wintertime. And the women would sit around and talk and the men would be all over the place, inside and out, whatever the weather was.
was 49 the year that they had the flood, the same year that the skunks were so bad?
I don't know if that was the same year. There was a year when skunks were so bad you couldn't walk out your front door without looking around, making sure you weren't going. You remember that? We used to go around and rock them, and you all had a little dog named Tiny that would go out and bay them for us.
Didn't one get in your mama's basement and die?
Dad shot one in the backyard and got underneath the house before it died.
Like,
She had to have air wicks in the house for years after that.
And then when you think you have it licked, it'd be okay for a while and be a damp, humid day.
Exactly
And
right.
then you go, dang it,
Yeah.
smell again.
Somebody put one in the wheel, screw.
Sister.
Oh, my.
Yeah, that was another Halloween prank.
And a skunk in the school?
In the cistern, we drink water, over here in the old building, it was between the high school and the old building, you don't remember the old Grace building at all. You've seen pictures in this, when we sold copies of it. Yeah, somebody threw a polecat in the cistern one night. That was another Halloween night.
But I can imagine being the person who did it.
Joe, Albert was-
Label.
The White House here, right beside the post office, across from where Cesar Jackson was. When Marshall Ashby lived there, he had a chicken house behind there that skunks get in. So I came down to Tom Ashby's. So let's go down and see if we had these skunks down there. There was one in the chicken house. So I picked up a rock and ran in there and hit the skunk, started out. He shut the door on me.
Oh.
The skunk sprayed me right
I've got all your face in it.
That was somebody else. I wouldn't pull it.
Probably sick.
That's what's wrong with him, man.
Well, I bet that was too close, wasn't it? I like to smell skunk at a distance. Kitty, she smelled 10 miles away. And I like this way, just barely a little bit.
Harold, my father always said that, and I think he was telling the truth.
Well, I'm telling
But,
you.
and so I grew up saying, yeah, it's not too bad. But see, that was from a distance.
Yeah, yeah.
But then when I finally got to smell one up close, I changed my mind.
At a distance, it smells like coffee.
Yeah, maybe. Bad coffee.
Trapping needs to be a big business for boys around the world. You always go in trapping, possum, polecats and possum trapping.
Trapping.
Yeah. I made my spending money when I was in high school off of polecats.
Joe and I used to trap together,
Yeah, that's right, I remember y'all.
trap
used to trap,
skunks,
yeah.
muskrats, and
You
me.
got about $15 for a #1 polecat.
That was different times, we used to get $2.
That's
We
right.
got $2 for an old white one off.
Harold, where'd you sell them?
Glenn,
Glenn
Shaw,
Shaw.
Stanton, down on Johnson Street.
We get $2 for them, didn't have to skin them, he
You
did
don't
all the
remember
skin.
Anson Huffer? He lived
No,
in
I-
Gap. He bought some too.
I remember Klotz. Klotz used to buy 'em.
Fox bought them, yeah. And Martin and Shaw
Yeah, I remember
used to
that.
buy them.
They have luxurious fur coats, but don't you think it would smell if you wore it out in the rain?
I would check my trap before I went to school, and if I had a polecat in the trap, I'd tell Daddy where it was.
Daddy,
And he'd go shoot it in the trap and let it be there practically all day, or maybe all day. I'd reset when I come back from home from school. And so I never got it. But a lot of kids came to school back in those days with polecat. Well, some of them got sent home.
They didn't all get sent home?
Some boys got skunked so they could go home.
Yeah, a lot of them. Probably Tom Ash.
He had so far to walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to tell my kids.
He was late for school.
Yeah.
Do you ever remember kids coming to school and eat ramp?
I've heard of him. Once or twice.
They said they smelled bad.
Yeah.
Well, the only story I can tell you about ramps is my sister-in-law was out in West Virginia. I believe she went, and this fellow went to some class on wildflowers. This isn't too many years ago. This is only about maybe 10 or 15, maybe 20 years ago. Anyway, and I guess he knew how to identify ramps. It was the season. I guess it's like, what is it, April or May when they pick them. So he picked some and they put them in a plastic bag. They were going to carry them back to Stanton and make something out of them. Well, even though they were in a plastic bag, just like 3 little fiddleheads or whatever they look like, they had to throw them stop and throw them out of that car. Like they drove them out of the car. They couldn't stand it. Eyes watering. So that's the only thing I can tell you. But I can imagine if kids ate them and came to school.
Yeah.
We had a mail carrier that went over the mountain every day, and he was a short little fellow, but anyway, he loved them. And he would come in early morning, of course, and almost drove you out because he had been eating them over the weekend or something like that. And it was rough sometimes, really.
Franklin, West Virginia still has a festivity out there.
Yeah,
of,
they do.
of,
3-day weekend.
Yeah. Of,
Where
college.
is that, Bobby, you know? Where they have?
Helvetia.
Oh, Helvetia.
Well, Franklin, West Virginia.
Well, there are several of them.
Yeah, all over West Virginia.
Helvetia is one of the better named ones.
I never knew Helvetia. We've
I
been
believe I'd like to go.
Yeah. A lot of people, not a lot, but used to a whole lot.
Community was pretty active, Harold, if you remember, with the war effort.
Yep.
That they had, of course, every night, pretty much had blackouts. You had to have dark shades over your windows.
Used to be a blackout post right here right at the top of the hill here.
Plane sighting.
Yeah. We boys thought that was a big deal, to go up there and spend the night, sit there and look for airplanes when we wasn't sleeping.
You remember Jim?
Call in somewhere, Washington or somewhere.
Uncle Bill Ralston had shields put over his windshield, or over his
Well, a
headlights
lot
on
of
his
people did.
Buick, to shield them from Japanese planes possibly flying over.
That, my grandmother would go up there and I would go with her, and she had to identify the planes and which direction and that sort of thing.
A lot of planes went over some nights.
And they had bond sales, remember that? There was
E-bonds and
people contributing livestock or something to be sold so they could buy bonds. And the group from the Army Hospital came out to entertain. Remember that?
no, I don't remember them entertaining, but sold a lot of bonds. I mean, that's a big deal then.
That one woman from there sang a song, "My dreams are getting better all the time." And well, that stuck with me, but I think we took a goose to the sale or something.
You remember how the cigarette, inner part of the cigarette package, and everybody smoked back then, had foil around it? Us kids would go around and pick them up out of the gutter and peel that foil off and make a big ball to send in for the war effort.
Aluminum, yeah, big planes.
I heard just in the last 8 or 10 years that all that was just to get people interested in contributing to the war effort, that most of the stuff that was gathered like that, scrap metal, went to a dump somewhere. Gave everybody the feeling that they were contributing and being a part of it.
Well, the government was sort of shady like they are today.
Yeah.
And they used to sell scrap iron to Japan.
Yeah.
And they finally ended up shooting us with
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Heard that too.
yeah.
Did anyone mention gathering milkweed pods?
For life
War-
jackets?
It was used in life preserve.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah, stuffing the life preservers.
Never heard that.
Yeah.
I think I've heard of that.
It takes a lot of them, doesn't it?
Poor monarchs.
Was that?
Yeah.
One. And had
You do that?
last sugar, you had to have what are they called? Coupons. You had to have
Coupons, the blue, dark blue, and
for buying sugar.
Rations, I guess. Ration stamps or something.
What were those red cardboard pennies that people
that's what we're talking about, is coupons to
Okay.
buy sugar or whatever.
I found a couple of those when Mom died, and some of the things, and
Farmers could get gasoline, farmers could get plenty of gasoline, mostly, bought all they wanted, but nobody else, it was tough. You had to hoodoo somebody out of some stamps or lie about it or something to get some.
I don't know this man.
We used to, there was one boy in our class, Forrest Hammond, who was deputy sheriff and is dead now. Forrest, the only one had could get his hands on a car. His daddy had a Model A Ford. You know, and on Sunday, he would come over and one of us had managed to get a C stamp, which was 3 gallons, from our parents or something. And we go over here to Cecil Jackson, which had a station here where the Whitson's garage is now. We get 3 gallons of gasoline and 3 gallons of kerosene. And as long as the Model A motor was hot, it run off kerosene. So we'd go to town and drive all Sunday afternoon, look at the girls.
When you say you went to town, you go to Stanton?
Virginia.
Down Virginia.
A lot of Forrest Hamilton stories.
Yeah, some of them I
We
want
can tell those till next week.
Well, tell one, Bob.
some of them you can't tell.
Mixed company, huh?
He stole my
I do have a
camera.
good one or two, but I don't believe I'll tell them.
About 99% you can't tell.
Yeah, it's after hours.
I saved his life one time.
Well,
George, he used to arrest George Moats for getting drunk, and
could,
one Sunday, they used to wear
between Bill Rawson's house and our house, there used to be a vacant lot. And saw George sitting there on that bank right by the road there in that vacant lot one time with a shotgun. And I went over and asked him, what are you doing over with the shotgun? He said, well, kill that damn Forrest Hamilton. And I said, why? He said, well, I'm getting damn tired of him arresting me. And he was waiting for Forrest to patrol by, apparently.
Wow,
And,
place.
I told him, he's gonna go to the penitentiary and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know whether he would have done it or not, but
He was all revved up,
he was revved up.
yeah.
Well, where did you folks from Churchville like to go for a first date?
To Deerfield.
Deerfield.
Everybody went to Deerfield except me.
Nothing complicated about that.
Well, what was going on in Deerfield?
Yeah, we lived there. The girls were.
There you go.
Wild girls out there, wild girls out there.
Okay.
A lot of Shinneberries.
A lot of Shinneberry girls, you know.
Yeah.
There were 5 of us, all, I guess, dating age back in the 50s. That was dangerous.
But after we got our dates and went to town, we'd go to a movie or we'd go to Dairy Right. Everybody congregated at
Dairy
Wright's-
Right.
Wright's Dairy Right. It's still there, still nice.
Yeah, and they still have cruise-ins with cars that you might have seen there when you were on a date. Yeah.
Your daddy went to Deerfield a lot. He and Jake Lightner used to date the Hamilton sisters out
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Did anyone here go to the Craigsville Drive-In?
Never
Know
attended.
where it is.
Never did.
I'm afraid I was over there on a school bus one time and let all the air out of the tires at a basketball game.
You know who owned that Craigsville Drive-In one time?
I don't remember.
Bob Johns.
Is that right?
Bob owned it. I think maybe Bob started it.
He probably did. It went pretty good, I think, for a few years. I never did that.
We went to the Augusta County Fair on our first day.
Oh, nice.
We did. Rode the Ferris wheel.
And then Bull.
Was it in Fishersville? Like
No.
it is
Oh,
now?
are you kidding?
In here at the fairgrounds,
And where was that, Harold?
where the baseball diamond is now.
Gypsy Hill Park.
Gypsy Hill Park.
Gypsy Hill,
Gypsy Hill.
okay.
There's a racetrack, they used to have races there, we're eating around it.
I've heard of that. I've
Yeah.
heard of that. I don't remember it, I just heard of it.
It's been a while ago.
Some people have been known to climb the fence to get into the fair too.
Uh-huh. I hope you didn't have to do that on your first date.
No, I didn't do it. I just heard stories.
No, if you showed cattle, you got a pass.
I see.
But you didn't have.
And I didn't have any cattle, but I showed for a friend.
Yeah.
So I got the pass and showed the cattle. Worked out very nice.
That friend,
Yeah,
that-
I'd say so.
Bill Altice.
You had his pass, did he know it?
Oh, no, I helped him show cattle,
Oh, okay.
Bill Altice.
I thought you probably got that the wrong way.
No, I got that the right way.
Old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
You earned it.
Deerfield was mentioned, and last time I tried to get some information on Camp Mini, Mini Meat, which was it, Eddie? Camp Mini Hee Haw? Mini Ha Ha,
Minnehaha.
yeah. And I didn't get a lot of information about it, so,
Beck's Ford somewhere, I think.
what's that?
Beck's Ford, I think. I'm not
That's
sure.
for my time.
For mine.
Okay, so it doesn't register, doesn't ring any bells there,
The
huh?
one way on, down next to the,
Well, the Minnehaha Springs is out.
I wouldn't think
Millburn.
Minnehaha would be in Deerfield.
I would
Millburn.
think
I would think
Well-
it would be out,
Millburn.
Millburn.
yeah,
Is that right?
Millburn or close to Marlinton,
On the
between
calf
Millburn
pasture.
and Marlinton.
Okay,
I would think that's where it would be.
Yeah.
There's a
Close to
big
Boulder
summer
Springs.
camp
out
out there. Little Millburn on the river.
There's the one we used to deliver meat to out there called Camp Wallawatula. That was on 42, off of 42, actually.
Turn down the river.
In Milburn Springs.
Yeah, just past Millburn Springs, yeah.
What's that place as you're going toward Todd Lake that's got anchor fencing around it. I was thinking that was
Girl
the
Scout.
That's
I was
Camp
thinking that was
Mayflather.
Girl Scout.
because it looks like it's all grown up.
Y'all, one more thing, you mentioned, the Statler Brothers, most of you know about the Statler Brothers, don't you? They performed in my store up in the feed room
Yeah, I know.
before they made it big. They were just starting. Lee Flory, who remembers Lee Flory? Barber.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Piano
Lee
too.
got him, Lee, you know, he was a wheeling dealer of anything and everything. And somehow or another, he got him to come up to my store one night, get up on the feed and play for a while.
Well, there's another, when Toad had Toad's Lake,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
remember Toad's Lake?
Yeah.
Remember that?
42.
I remember you were there. Right?
Been there a time or two.
We were at Todd's Lake in, was it 50,
In the 50s.
about 57 or 58, and Patsy Cline sang there. And it was the
57.
first, and nobody knew Patsy Cline, nobody ever heard of Patsy Cline, and it was this muddy lake, and there was a platform out in the middle, and you swim out there, and if you had a girlfriend, you get your blanket and lay on the thing, and Patsy Cline was singing, and we didn't know Patsy Cline from anybody. Like, yeah, this girl came from Winchester, and she's singing up there, and now kiss me again, Ryan.
Well, did anybody know the Statlers then?
Nobody knew.
If you could save that recording, Harold, you'd have something now.
Make it big, wouldn't it?
Yes,
Did
sir.
them sign anything while we were there?
42 South, is that what you're talking about?
Is that the one across from the
Yeah.
high school sort of?
No, yeah, just.
If he'd have known
White
how
House.
famous they were gonna get, he would have.
Right, he should have turned there and went up there, was the base of the mountain.
Okay.
I heard a lot of old
It was
mountains
fed by an
before that
artesian.
time. I didn't think it was any better than
Well, we'll probably have to break up pretty soon, but I think we're having a good time, so we'll do it again.
All right.
We'll take some more pictures next time.
Harold, your family's been
I
around a
didn't
long
last too
time. Are
long,
you
though.
are you
you don't
familiar with the
spare
old
battery.
Armstrong
I
Cemetery?
do not.
Over on what used to be the old Allen place?
I did charge it up though before we began
You know
doing
of
it
it?
tonight.
I know up in the woods,
Yes.
yeah,
It's back off the road in the middle
back
of the
behind Joe, Harris' place.
What's there?
Cemetery's back there back of Jim Tolliver, back there in the woods. You know what's back there?
I've never-
Behind the Green Hill, back in the woods.
I've never actually had occasion to tromp around back there. What was it associated with? Was it
Tombs back there.
associated with a particular church or?
There was, the first time I went back there, Whitey Sumlin, who used to own land there on Vinegar Hill, took me back there and showed it to me. But at that time, the most remarkable stone in there was a big flat stone, sandstone. And the inscription was, "Here lies the body of James Armstrong, departed this life in the 28th year of his age, 1759. And life was spelled L-I-E-F, and age was E-A-G-E. But it's a very old stone. And then, I don't know, 10, 12 years later, I was back up there, and it looked like a groundhog or something undermined the stone, and cattle had stepped on it.
Groundhogs love to live under that stone.
Yeah. But cattle apparently had stepped on it, and it wasn't supported, and it cracked across the middle.
It was on the other, it was on the other side of the fence from Whitey. Right, it wasn't all Whitey.
No, it wasn't.
It
You're
was
right.
just, you crossed the fence and there it was, and,
Yeah.
cause I would hunt groundhogs back there. My grandmother knew the cemetery. And she just would tell me it was back there, and
There was a pond back towards the back of the place, and if you went past that pond up a hill,
Right.
it's right up there.
I've been there one time, in Boy Scouts or something, I don't know. We were hiking back in there.
There were a lot,
You've taken me there. I don't remember there being a lot of graves there, as I recall.
He wasn't looking for
Just-
graves then.
there were not a lot of graves there, there probably weren't.
there were a lot of limestone markers there that
Right.
either didn't have an inscription, or the inscriptions
Most
had
of them
already
laying down.
weathered off. But the only one lion flat was that big one that had the Armstrong name on it.
A good giveaway for that cemetery were all the rock lilies that lined it around.
Yeah.
When you are there, you realize that this is kind of a dedicated plot.
Yeah.
because of these lilies around there.
Another giveaway is yucca plants.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Real dark green and spear-like leaves.
That's yucca.
I noticed one of the words, whoever was chiseling it, wasn't planning ahead. And he chiseled all across there, and the word was too long for the space. So they just stopped, continued the word on the next line down below. There wasn't any hyphenation or anything like that. Do you remember that?
No. It's been a long,
But
long.
it was a very soft stone. I mean,
Yeah.
Back there, yeah.
big and soft.
Yeah,
And whose property is it that owns it now?
Knops.
Not so.
Okay.
It's only about 200 yards from Harry's house,
Yes, it's close.
200-300 down there.
Okay.
That's not the place that they call that Indian,
No.
Oh, it's right near there.
I,
Indian Point.
do you all know about that place? I mean, it's supposed to be some, I don't know, a compass point that is a sacred ground and the Indians sometimes come in from all over the country and converge up there and have these.
Wow.
They had one about 4 or 5 years ago, and there must have been probably 100 Indians up there. I think they were Cherokees. And they came in there and they had their powwow. And I happened to ride up there, and they invited Harry and I to come with them in their powwow.
Did they have any squaws?
They had squaws there, yeah.
But
Is that on the Middle River?
There's nothing actually
It's
that
near
you can
Middle
see
River.
Close to it.
there, or
Comes
is there
along the bank.
something?
No, they have, the Knott boy has put a ring of rocks around there. Is where they meet, and they talk to the spirits there.
In the woods.
It's right at the edge of the woods, and that's right at Harry's.
It's on his property.
No, it's not on his property, but just across the fence.
Knops.
Yeah,
And who's the Harry you're referring to?
my brother.
Okay.
But it has something to do with a compass point, doesn't it?
I don't know.
I've heard of what you're talking about, Mary Ann.
You mean
I
Trinity-
don't know
Yeah.
what
It's
it
Trinity
is,
Point,
but
right?
I've
Trinity
heard.
Point.
That's what she's talking about.
One of the knock,
Trinity
well,
Point's
several
on
of
up the
the
river a
knock,
little bit.
I guess
Trinity Point is on up the river a
maybe
little
sons
bit.
or
Yeah.
grandsons even of whoever you're talking about
I
coming.
know where Trinity Point is.
Harold, who's buried in this cemetery?
Yeah.
Right up on the hill up there, but where?
John Howard,
Who?
John Howard is one of them.
There's,
Nick
there's a big
Cemetery?
white house sits up on the hill.
The one the horn used to own.
Yeah, Troy Horn, there's a
some
cemetery
Negroes
up there.
He,
I don't know, if there's some tombstones up there. I don't know that I ever looked at
Yeah,
it.
who's buried there, Bill?
He said Howard, I remember.
John Howard, who lived up there where Sam Snyder lived.
Jim Howard.
Jim Howard.
Jim Howard.
Jim Howard, that's
The only Negro in the community.
right. And I
Wasn't it?
remember them saying that I saw a procession that said it was Jim Howard.
Yeah.
But where did he live?
Up
Chapel
Whiskey
Road.
Creek, you know, where the road forks to spring,
Yeah.
going to Jerusalem Chapel. Little patch of woods up there. Right along in there.
Snyder's.
Snyder's.
Oh, okay, it's nice. I heard that, I didn't.
Sam.
Yeah.
He used to ride a horse down to the store Saturday nights.
Back in the 50s, did you, talking about that old cemetery up there, it used to be the Allen place, remember? You remember back in the 50s when Mr. Allen had corn down there in the flatland and had a bunch of wild goats that had started multiplying. There must have been 30 or 40 of them, and they were coming into his cornfield, and a lot of the adult men and boys got together, and I don't know if you were a driver. I was one of the drivers, but they set all the boys up and on one end, lined up on one end of the place, and drove through the brush to run the goats out to where the
adults were with their rifles. And they killed, I don't know, 10 or 15 of those things.
So Mr. Allen was a scary guy to me.
Really?
I mean, right, he had that black patch over his eye.
Yeah.
And we'd go up there to go swimming, there was a swimming bridge across the river. And we thought, because we thought he was a pirate. So we were pretty afraid of him. Dad ran around with his son back in the 20s.
Charlie Allen, home
And,
place.
so Dad would go visit.
Charlie Allen,
I wouldn't go.
his dad.
Is it Charlie?
Charlie Allen's father.
Father, yeah.
Yeah. Charlie and Dad were good friends.
When you went swimming up there, did you ever go over and dive in Cave Spring?
Yep, and we used to go over there
Too
and,
cold.
and occasionally, and you would take your clothes off and see if you could swim across it.
Yep.
And if you could swim, oh damn, that thing was cold.
Not many people made it across.
Yeah, that's right. And it wasn't
Big as this
as
room.
big as this room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was so cold.
Very cold.
It was a small cave
Oh,
where
it
the
was
water
cold.
came up from underground into the
Where is Cave Spring?
Yeah, we, I'm lost.
outside cave and water.
Go past the cemetery, down over the hill to the river.
Go
straight
past
down
there,
along the river.
it's at the end of the road,
Oh, back
and
up.
walk
Okay.
around the bluff to the right.
Oh,
It's probably 500-600 yards around to, you get to the end of that road, around to the right.
Does anybody know if it's still there?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Something says the city of Stanton.
City of Stanton conserved it for water supply a few years ago.
Well, all right,
Tried to
we
buy
have good corroboration here.
Is that on the east property or the north?
No,
No.
it's
No, it's not either one of those.
Chittum?
It's on,
Chittum? Is it? No?
I thought it was on,
Chittum.
Chittum Farm, Pine
it
Tree.
was on Chittum.
I can't remember his name.
Well, I believe if it's as hot tomorrow as it was today, I might have to go.
I tell you what, your bums will come out of there pretty quick.
I bet my buns won't even go in. My toes might.
You better jump in the creek.
Well, I think this has been a great session. It's about a little less than 20 minutes till the library closes. I better go help Ann shut down the library.
You afraid you'll
Y'all
work
are welcome
overtime?
to stay here and talk till 8 o'clock anyway, when we close the library, and if you really want to, you can stay beyond that. I can lock the library doors and you can just leave when you're done. There's also, we have 6 seats out on the patio now, if some of you want to have some conversations that are not of general interest, but more specific interest.
Nightlight.
And don't forget, we're having another Living History Night. It'll be the 3rd one, that's October 28th. Next Monday night, is this location, same time, same place. We're having our first program, it's called the Acoustic Pick-In. If you like to listen to people play music, if you'd like to play music, bring your instrument, bring a song to share. And I think we'll just sit in a circle and somebody will play a song and somebody else will and somebody else will. And we'll see how that goes, but I think it might be a lot of fun. So if that appeals to you, I'll see you next week. And I certainly hope to see you for our next Living History. Y'all can keep talking. I'm gonna go start working on shutting down the library.
You afraid you'll work overtime?
Oh, I cannot let that happen.